Thank you for being a friend. Travel down a road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant.
The views expressed on the following broadcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting or its affiliates. The dialogue on this show should not be considered as medical, psychiatric, or professional advice and is delivered only as personal opinions from the host, co-host, and guest. KHLT Recovery Broadcasting is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. And now, here are your co-hosts, Nathan A. and the Monty'man.
Well, greetings one and all, and welcome to Open Forum here at Take12Radio.com on your internet dial. On this wonderful Wednesday, I am your co-host, the Monty'man, along with our other co-host, Nathan A. Hey, Nathan, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, I gotta know what sitcom was. Thank you for being my friend. I'm thinking Growing Pains or something.
No, I think that was Bosom Buddies. I think it was
Golden
Bosom.
Girls.
No, maybe it was Golden Girls. Maybe it was Golden
Girls.
It was. Robin says it was Golden Girls, and I think he's correct.
Yep.
Robin is on the line with us today from Florida, and he's our special guest this week on Open Forum. We're going to be talking, listeners, about the War of the 12-Step Roses. The War of the Roses amongst 12-steppers, particularly this rift between Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. Now, this isn't just limited to AA and NA. I mean, there's disagreements and attitudes that go on between Overcomers Outreach and Celebrate Recovery and Alcoholics for Christ and Celebrate this and that and was Reformers Unanimous. And I mean, there's disagreements and attitudes that go on between 12-steppers all over the planet. But we're going to be focusing today particularly on the war between AA and NA because that's the mothership. And Narcotics Anonymous, branched off from Alcoholics Anonymous years ago. In fact, there were members of AA that helped the founders of Narcotics Anonymous. And we're going to talk about what happened. Was it a case of let's go buy a coffee pot and start our own meeting and call it Narcotics Anonymous because we don't feel comfortable talking about alcohol? I mean, what was really going on? We're going to be talking about some of the similarities in the fellowships and maybe even perhaps some of the differences. And is this acceptable to be fighting with each other, or do we need to stop doing this? I mean, aren't we supposed to be on the same side? So we're going to be talking about this kind of stuff. Robin is our guest, as I said, and but we're going to take care of a couple things right off the bat. And so we're gonna hear from this our sponsor for this part of the show. So hold on to your recovery horses.
SoberChat is the first ever location-sensitive mobile chat application designed to instantly connect people who share the common goal of staying sober. SoberChat will revitalize and revolutionize 12-stepping as we know it. At any time of the day or night, you can simply log on and help someone by making phone contact, taking someone to a meeting for coffee, or chatting via text messaging on the SoberChat mobile application. Register now for your download of the SoberChat app. Visit SoberChatApp.com. The power of sharing is at your fingertips. SoberChat, the app that saves lives. SoberChat is not a replacement for attending 12-step meetings, sponsorship, or working the 12 steps.
All right, welcome back. Now listen. Before we get into this, I really need to talk to you, listeners, about a very brave young man. This little boy is absolutely amazing. His name is Danny Nickerson. Now, I don't know, maybe some of you guys have heard about Danny. There's been a lot of hoop-to-do about him turning 6 years old. Now, Danny is from Foxborough, Massachusetts. I can never say that right. Massachusetts. And Danny, well, let me just tell you about Danny. Danny was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor last October when his mom told a local newspaper the young boy likes to open birthday cards. His story went viral. That's all he wanted for his birthday was cards, because he's just learned how to recognize his name, and he loves seeing his name. And Danny's very sick. He's very, very sick. And so all he wanted for his birthday, turning 6 years old, was cards. Well, with all the sadness that we do have in our lives right now, his mother said, it's amazing to see him so happy and so energetic. Danny's mom, Carly, said as he climbed over packages and packages and packages of mail. This was last week that he turned 6, you guys. And the family went to Legoland Friday morning when Danny met Patriots owner Robert Kraft before picking up an estimated 100,000 birthday cards.
Wow.
And packages at the Foxborough post office. It's taken a lot of stress off us, and thinking about him being sick, Danny's dad, Daniel, said it took several hours and multiple trucks to bring all of the cards home where Danny will go through them. His grandmother said, I think that the hardest thing is touching each piece of mail as we are putting it in the boxes and crates and knowing that somebody did that for Danny. Actually, that was Danny's grandfather, George. The cards came from all over the country and across the world. We sent a card from Take 12 Radio. They said if they opened up 300 cards a day, it would take like till next year or something to get them all. So they probably aren't even going to get ours for a long time. But what we wanted to do, because we missed his birthday because we found out about this a little late, we wanted to make up for that. And so Danny, this is for you, buddy. We have a co-host that lives inside of the computer whose name is Cecil, and Cecil's got something for you. So hit it, Cecil.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday just for you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Well, hi, Danny. This is Cecil. And we want to tell you how sorry we are that we missed your birthday. But we wanted you to know that we love you and always keep looking up. Danny, you're a super guy.
Happy birthday, Danny. Danny Nickerson last week turned 6 years old. Danny has a rare form of a brain tumor. It's inoperable. He's not feeling good at all. They could really use your prayers and support. Listen, you can still send cards. Here's the address. Danny Nickerson, P.O. Box 212, Foxborough, Mass. 02035. And we'll have the address up on our website so you can send that to him. Danny, hang in there, buddy. Everybody's pulling for you, man. Hard times. You know?
Wow.
You know, hard times. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, you can see pictures of Danny looping through the YouTube there during that song. By the way, those were the Smurfs.
I was thinking the Chipmunks co-sung that bad boy there.
Oh, my goodness sake. All right. I think it's time for the world's most hated game, Nathan and Robin. Robin, you ready to play Take 12 Trivia with us, buddy?
No, I'm not sure, but I'll take a shot at it.
Okay.
Rob, I got to let you know, buddy, I'm fixing to take you down.
He's fixing to take you down, Rob. Okay, hit it. It is time for the world's most hated game show, Take 12 Trivia. All right, this week, in the spirit of the topic, this is trivia about arguments. This week's trivia is brought to you by Broad Highway Recovery, a nationwide addiction intervention recovery monitoring and consulting company located in Richmond, Virginia. Their commitment to the family and their loved ones struggling with substance abuse is monumental. Their mission is to guide families through the entire recovery process. For help with your addicted loved one, visit broadhighwayrecovery.com. They are sponsoring Take 12 Trivia for this week. All right. Here are we have 4 questions and a bonus. And Robin's our guest, so I'm going to give him first crack at this on every question. How many verbal arguments does the average person engage in a week? Here are your choices. 10, 25, or over 100. Robin, what do you think?
Over 100.
Robin says over 100. What do you say, Nathan?
I think Rob's a smart man.
Okay, you get a bell. Yep, you guys are right. It is over 100. The average person engages in over 100 verbal arguments a week. That's amazing to me. That just blows my mind. All right, here's question number 2. What percent of disagreements in a person's lifetime are actually over issues based in fact? 10%, 50%, or 100%? Robin?
Oh, I'm thinking about my brain cells, one selling the garbage and the other one buying the garbage. I got to go 10%.
Nate?
Man, he's a smart man.
Bing! 10% is the correct answer. Question number 3. Who tends to start arguments more often? Men, women, or teenagers? Robin, what do you think?
Because my wife might listen to this show, I'm going to have to go with teenagers.
Well, you know what? That's exactly correct.
Teenagers is correct. You guys both get that. All right. Question number 4. How many people will apologize for their part in an argument? 1 in 5, 1 in 20, or 1 in 100? Robin?
Oh, God. 1 in 100.
Nathan?
First of all, how do they study that? They just follow around
I don't know.
arguments? I'm going to say 1 in 20.
1 in 20. Well, Robin, you are correct again. It is 1 in 100. And here's your bonus question, you guys. Who tends to hold grudges longer? Men, women, or about the same? Robin?
That's an easy one.
And
Robin, you say men?
yes, sir, I'm wrong, but I'm going to say it.
Okay. What do you say, Nathan?
Senoritas.
Actually, it is about the same. Men just are guilty of the silent scorn more often than women, but it's about the same in holding grudges.
Okay.
Isn't that a trip? It's a trip. It's a trip. All right. That is our argument, our topic of arguments for our Take 12 Trivia this week. All right. Enough of that. Yes, indeedy. Okay, we're gonna get our sponsor for this part of the show out of the way. We're gonna come back and do a little segue into this topic. Don't go away.
I had this illness that really made me powerless over alcohol, and that insisted that I got drunk. And so I got drunk. It doesn't have anything to do with trying to control it. An alcoholic who picks up the first drink will pick up the second drink. I can't say to anyone, no, don't drink. But I can say that when you decide you don't want to drink, come to AA. The door to AA is always open. Alcoholics Anonymous. It works. Look us up. Check your phone book, newspaper, or AA.org.
All right. Hey, Robin, let me ask you. Were you ever a fan of Monty Python?
Of what?
Monty Python.
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay, Nathan, you know who Monty Python is, right?
Never been a fan.
Never been a fan. Okay, well, some people are, some people aren't. But I thought this was really appropriate. This is a sketch, one of their more famous sketches, called The Argument. And what this is, just to give you a little introduction, this is just a piece of it, because it can be quite lengthy, but this is just a piece. A gentleman goes into a clinic and is looking to actually purchase a 5-minute argument. So he knocks on the door and he asks the guy at the desk if this is actually... you okay there, Nathan?
Man, sipping on the old Joe and about choked out there.
He asked the guy if this is the right room to purchase an argument. And this is what happens. Listen to this.
Is this the right room for an argument?
I've told you once.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have.
When?
Just now.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Didn't. Didn't.
I'm telling you I did.
You did not.
Oh, I'm sorry, is this a 5-minute argument or the full half hour?
Oh, just the 5-minute one.
Fine. Thank you. Anyway, I did.
You most certainly did not.
Now, let's get one thing quite clear. I most definitely told you.
You did not.
Yes, I did.
You did not.
Yes, I did.
Didn't.
Yes, I did.
Didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, this isn't an argument.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. It's just contradiction.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
It is. You just contradicted me.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you did.
No.
You did just then.
No, nonsense.
Oh, look, this is futile.
No, it isn't.
I came here for a good argument.
No, you didn't. You came here for an argument.
Well, an argument's not the same as contradiction.
Can be.
No, it can't. An argument's a connected series of statements to establish a definite proposition.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. It isn't just contradiction.
Look, if I argue with you, I must take up a contrary position.
But it isn't just saying no, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. Argument's an intellectual process. Contradiction is just the automatic gainsaying of anything the other person says.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Not at all.
No, look.
Thank you.
Okay, and so he rings the bell and he says time's up, and then they start arguing about whether the guy paid for 5 minutes or didn't pay for 5 minutes. And it goes on, and it's actually quite lengthy. It's like the whole sketch is about 20 minutes long for the entire sketch. But you see how ridiculous we get, and that's the point that they're trying to make, is most of our argument, and as we discovered in trivia, what percent of disagreements in a person's lifetime are actually over issues based in fact? 10% in a lifetime. The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous talks about things that are imagined or real, or imagined, I should say. And so a lot of times, the things that we have against each other are fabrications in our own mind, and we get caught up in all sorts of weird things. And it doesn't seem to be something that we're immune to, even within our 12-step fellowships, where we are supposed to be changing our attitudes, finding a new way to live. And Robin contacted me on our In the Rooms site, our page, and suggested, this as a topic. And he said, if you guys use this as a topic, this fighting that goes on between AA and NA, said I'll plaster it all over my social networking sites. That's a show I really want to get involved with. So I called up Robin, and Robin, thank you for joining us with this. So Robin, share with Nathan and myself and the listeners, what has been your experience? What have you been observing over the years that you've been in recovery, and why does this bother you?
Well, I like the way you call AA the mothership of recovery, because truly, Bill W. and Dr. Bob really kind of crystallized what the Oxford group was trying to put together to help alcoholics get sober. And my experience is that I've faced just outright hostility from my friends in Narcotics Anonymous when I identify myself as an alcoholic, and it just never ceases to amaze me that this exists, because if there was going to be an oldest child of the mothership, it's definitely Narcotics Anonymous. If there was going to be a most successful organization out of all the 12-step fellowships, it's definitely Narcotics Anonymous. And although, we're not, our traditions, both NA and AA's traditions, say that we don't have any outside opinions. At the very least, we should have a friendly association, and that, unfortunately, just in my 17 years of being clean and sober has not been the case.
Nathan, what about you? What have you observed? Because you and I both have. Now, I want to make sure that listeners understand. None of us are claiming that we represent AA or NA. We're just making observations here. And in the years of being around, we won't say what room specifically we're members of, but we have attended meetings from both. Both you and I have, and Robin has. What has been your experience, Nathan? Have you seen a rift between the two?
Absolutely, I definitely agree with what Robin said. I've seen, I've seen one old timer of a certain meeting that, somebody I identifies himself as something, a part of the other meeting, and the next thing you know, there's a big stink, and just a lot of closed-minded. I don't know. It's just I've definitely seen it, and it just seems we come in the room sick, and then a lot of us hold. At least for me, I was early in recovery, and I held some. I went to area and was a GSR and did a few things like that, and it's very interesting to be a part of that side of those fellowships. In fact, it's pretty draining, because. There's a lot of argumentative stuff going on in there, and everybody just tries to nitpick it to death, and it's just I definitely agree.
Well, here's something that I've always found very interesting, you guys. In the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, in the foreword to the first edition. It says, and there's actually there's two. Is there one main purpose of this book? Actually, there's two. In the foreword of the first edition, it says that to show other alcoholics precisely, and that's in italics. That means pay attention to this, precisely how we have recovered, not how we stay in recovery, how we have recovered. Is the main purpose of this book. And then later on it talks about how the main purpose of this book is to help us develop a relationship with a power greater than ourselves to restore us to sanity. So the main purpose of the book, which we refer to as the basic text for Alcoholics Anonymous, or the instruction manual, or the program, not the fellowship, the program, the main purpose is to show people show alcoholics precisely how we've recovered, and in doing that, introducing them to a power greater than themselves that can restore them to sanity. That is the whole purpose of Alcoholics Anonymous, the program. Now, it's interesting to me because if you open the basic text of Narcotics Anonymous and you read the introduction, which is the foundation to any book, it says... The 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous, as adapted from AA, are the basis of our recovery program. So what's the basis of the NA recovery program? The 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay, and this is what it says. We have only broadened their perspective. How? It goes on to say, we follow the same path with a single exception. What does that mean? We follow the same path with only one exception, single, one. And then it says what it is. Our identification as addicts is all-inclusive with respect to any mood-changing, mind-altering substance. So according to the introduction of NA's basic text, the only difference between the two programs, not the fellowships, the programs, and their purpose is the way they identify each other. Other than that, it is still about showing people precisely how to recover and developing a relationship with a power greater than ourselves that can restore us to sanity. But you know what I found, Robin and Nathan, is that I don't think there's a lot of people in Narcotics Anonymous that know that. And I don't know that there's a lot of people in Alcoholics Anonymous that know that about the Narcotics Anonymous program. If they did, they would be on the same page a little more. Comments?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at the history of these two great organizations, and it's out there. Just go to Google and do a couple of little quick searches. You'll see where the founder of Narcotics Anonymous, Jimmy K, had a, let's face it, this was before email or Facebook or anything like that, but they had a long relationship through letter writing, and those letters are out there.
Yeah.
I mean, these gentlemen were in contact with each other, and I think that and based on the tenor of the letters that I've been able to find, they were supportive of each other's goals. So it's important to know that that Jimmy K didn't get mad one day and say, "I'm leaving AA," because that's where he started. It was that there was a need. And like any good person, he saw the need and he went out and tried to meet it.
And yet there is a school of thought that says that he got pissed off and took off, and that's how NA was formed, and that's actually inaccurate.
No, I mean, if anything, if you read if you read the letters that are out there from Bill W. to Jimmy K. specifically, it's obvious that Bill was in 100% support of this process and was interested to hear about their progress. Because let's face it, I like to use the thing of apples and oranges. They're both fruits. They have a lot in common, and they can help each. They might be helpful, whatever. But there is some differences. So, I mean, we should we should celebrate the differences and be okay with it. Is where I'm coming from.
Right.
I just
Nathan, did you want to?
Yeah, I folks, I want you to remember back when AA first started, women were not allowed to attend meetings.
Right.
And then it adapted, and then they were allowed to go, but they weren't allowed to talk.
African Americans weren't allowed to attend meetings.
And then eventually, it's kind of evolved. So I know in at least my area, because where we're at, one organization has a little bit more meat and potatoes than the other organization,
right? Just
because of the personalities of this area. And so I go to the one. But does that mean, when I go to, let's just say I went to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, I introduced myself. I'm a great member. I could say alcoholic. I'm a grateful member of AA, but inside, I'm saying, I'm everything.
Right.
I'm a crackhead, dopehead, you name it. So
you're practicing when in Rome.
When in Rome,
you're showing respect to the fellowship that you're in.
Right, and so around here, I noticed that it's kind of adapted to where it's not that big of a deal. But I've been to different areas where, let's just say, I was sitting in an AA meeting, and some of those old guys just don't want to be associated with us crackheads or whatever you want to call. There's a certain, and so I think that's kind of where everything kind of came from. It's just, and you and I both know, Monty, me and you have had quite a bit of conflicts, but it says right here in the NA on page 77, it says, there is something in our self-destructive personalities that cries for failure and conflict. And here's an example. When I feel me and you know a lot. We were just sitting in one of the 12-step meetings the other day, and there's this guy, and I've been guilty of this, that just likes to always come at a different angle, no matter what the topic is.
He's got to be.
He finds something wrong with it. He's got to oppose it, and I don't know if it's self-justification, thinking smart, but there's things that me and you have done big time in meetings where we're, I have one that I always do that's out of line, and I when they start cross talking and doing things, I say things like that. I think I'm tricky, but I'll go, And I would just like to remind myself that this is not a counseling session. It's a place to share my own strength and hope. And there's always a way where we can slide under the traditions and do our little poke in. So, I mean, it kind of happens. And me and you both do it, Monty. In a certain little way,
One of my favorite things that you'll hear people do, and we've done it too, and I'll bet you Robin has done it too, is we'll say something, we'll preface a statement because somebody will have said something that we'll believe is incorrect or actually can be damaging perhaps to a newcomer. So we'll say something and we'll preface it with, well, for me, yada, yada, yada. Or in my case, or just for me, and what we're really saying is, yeah, but this is for you too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, Robin?
Absolutely. I mean, what's funny is I also really love how the literature talks about the bleeding deacons and the elder statesmen.
Right.
I mean, it's like everybody's entitled to my opinion.
Yeah.
And we all need to remember how it was for us when we came in there. I was rough saying things out of line, and who knows, So I mean, people need to be able to. It needs to be a safe place,
Yeah, and I get it. I do. I understand. There are some legitimate gripes. We all can come up with legitimate gripes about any organization, Rotary Club, Boy Scouts,
anything.
Church, synagogue, AA, NA, whatever A. If you want to find something wrong with something, that's not hard to do. What's challenging is learning to be tolerant, learning to have patience, learning to be loving, kind, considerate, And I mean, there are certain meetings where I refer to myself as a recovered individual because my fellowship says that's how I am supposed to refer to myself. But I will tell you, there are times when you have to use wisdom. And I will be in a meeting and I'll know if I say that, it's going to be very confusing to some people. So I may say, hi, I'm Monty, I'm a grateful member of, or something like that. You kind of have to use some wisdom and ask God to show you where to speak and where not to speak. But that comes with time. That comes with maturity. And we don't always learn how to do that right away. And so I'm wondering, you guys, if all this arguing and bickering back and forth, even when you have a legitimate and a point that's actually correct, we know it's never healthy to blame, even if you're right. It's just not. But I'm wondering, when we're looking at our fourth step, and it says, in our fifth step, we look at the exact nature of our wrongs. We think that we have to spill our guts about the details of our wrongs. That's not what it says. It says that we look at the nature of those wrongs. And so what is the nature of those wrongs? Well, where have we been selfish? Where have we been dishonest, inconsiderate, jealous, suspicious, bitter? Are we being inconsiderate? Are we being jealous? Are we being bitter? What's really going on in us spiritually that we have to be a right fighter and say, you can't talk about this and you can't talk about that? I really have to wonder what's going on inside of us. And you know what? Doggone it. Addiction is the number one health crisis in our world. Number one, over everything else. We need to drop the rock. We're supposed to be on the same side here. We may approach it a little differently, but we're killing our wounded, right, Robin?
Well, I mean, basically it seems to me like these are two groups of good people that are really trying to get well. And if that's our goal, if our goal is to be healthy and to be in communication with our higher power, who I choose to call God, then yeah, carrying any sort of resentment around, it's just like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick.
Right.
And as far as the fellowships go and identification retaliation, my experience is such. My sponsor is a member of Alcoholics Anonymous for 32 years. And he explained it to me this way. When you're in this one place, you identify yourself as an alcoholic. And when you're in this other place, you identify yourself as an addict. It's not so much that you're identifying yourself, as you're being courteous to the other people that are there.
Yep.
And you're avoiding controversy. You don't... His big thing to me was you don't need to be unique. You need to be equal to and as good as, but not unique. And so my thing is, you show respect to the traditions of the fellowship you're in, and you're never wrong.
That is a really good rule of thumb. In fact, in the fourth step in how it works in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it talks about avoiding retaliation or argument, and it's in reference to people that have offended us. But this is a good rule of thumb just in life in general. And it says we wouldn't treat sick people that way. If we do, we destroy our chance of being helpful. We don't ever want to destroy our chance of being helpful.
Hey, let me throw this at you guys. Have you ever heard a person that's new into one of the fellowships? Let's say a person sitting new in the AA fellowship, and he's sharing about his powerlessness and his hopelessness, and then he'll go, and I'm kind of confused because I've really never had a problem with alcohol. And that's how he leaves it. Have you heard any of the newcomers coming like that? And to me, I just go, man, you're missing the point. I mean, that's sad that they get that impression, because, you know what I'm saying? I just go, man, there's something missing there.
That alcohol's the problem, or narcotics are the problem.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here. Alcohol's never been my problem, so maybe I'm in the, and they just can't quite identify, and I just, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you know what he's talking about, Robin?
I do. I mean, I've actually heard people say, I go to this fellowship, but I've never had a problem with alcohol. And I'm like thinking to myself, it's really not the substance that we're really working on. It's the action that leads to that substance, whatever it may be.
That's right.
Right.
If somebody tells me they don't have a problem with alcohol, I tell them, God bless. I'm really glad to hear that. But just keep an open mind is my big watchword. Keep an open mind and take what works for you and leave the rest, like they say in the rooms. I'm not saying anything new here, but, I could say that heroin's never been my problem, but can I learn something from a heroin addict? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. This is, anybody that's dealt with some of the hardcore addictions like that, they've got a wealth of experience and hope to offer that I need. And that's the way I need to look at it. It's not so much what they're doing, it's what they did before. It's what are you doing now in the solution?
One of the things that I've noticed in studying the literature of both fellowships is there. When we talk about differences, there seems to be more of an emphasis on God, the Creator, a higher power, being the solution to your insanity, not your sobriety, your insanity, because it says restored to sanity. It doesn't say restored to sobriety, it's restored to sanity. That God is the focus of the solution to that in Alcoholics Anonymous. In Narcotics Anonymous, it doesn't not say that, but its focus is more just remove the substance and you'll be okay. And there seems to be more of an emphasis on that. Now, I'm not saying that's what they're saying in the literature, but I'm saying that that's how a lot of people interpret it. If as long as I just don't pick up and use today, I'll be all right, is the cry I hear, at least in this part of the country, from the NA folks. And in the AA folks, it's more, I need to make sure that I am spiritually fit to be all right. You know what I'm saying, Robin?
Well, I basically do know what you're saying. I attend both fellowships just to identify, and it's hard for me to point the finger because of the three fingers pointing back at me, if you will.
Yeah.
But I do constantly find myself reminding people, hey, not using the beginning is fantastic. That's that's the first step in any process. But to get the prescribed results, you have to do it the prescribed way, and that's doing the steps. And my experience is that the steps put you into a connection with a higher power, who I choose to call God. I don't care if you call your God Red Thor. I just want you to have one that's not yourself and doesn't wear a dress, and that's just for me because I'm not well yet. Basically, that's basically, I have had that experience in with my friends in NA, and but at the same token, if you look at the NA 12-step study guide, oh man, talk about something that's going to pull the sickness out of you.
It is
going to force you to get in touch with the real inner core of what's going wrong and how you need to get right. It's one of the best pieces of literature I've ever seen. Taking nothing away from AA's Big Book or AA's 12 and 12, because that is where it starts. But I got to give props to NA's 12-step workbook. It's just a phenomenal piece of material, and maybe more of us need to use it. I don't know.
Yep.
Well, and I think, Robin, you and I were talking about this the other day off the air, that people that really engage in the War of the Roses, that really are fighting, and I'm not talking about just a casual disagreement, but really are fighting. They're right fighters. For the most part, if you really watch them, they're not applying and implementing the steps in their lives. They don't know the literature. They know the fellowships, but they don't know the literature. They're living on platitudes. 90 meetings in 90 days. Don't drink or use in between meetings. Call your sponsor. Blah 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 blah. All things that are good and right, but aren't the solution. And they're meeting dependent, they're step dependent instead of being dependent on a power greater than themselves. They don't crack the book open. I mean, if you really pull the veneer back, because and I say that from experience because that's exactly who I was when I was that critical. I think when you're working the 12 steps and you're allowing the Creator to change your life, you become less and less destructive in the way you talk about other people. It changes you. You become more empathetic. You're quick to see where religious people are right, for instance. You're less critical of them. You're less critical of authority figures. You may still have strong opinions, but you're not bashing people with them as much. That's something that every human being can benefit from. So my question again, are we on the same side? When you pull the veneer of our opinions out of the way, are we on the same side? Nathan, do you think we're on the same side?
I guarantee if both the co-founders were sitting here drinking coffee, they'd get along just fine.
They'd get along just fine.
They would definitely get along, talk, and have a good old time and agree.
Yeah, Robin, you think we're on the same side?
I think that both founders of both organizations are in commune with God right now, just kicking back, listening to this, going, "Oh, come on, guys, get it right,
right,
get it right."
I believe it.
Okay, so Robin, what are some? Because people that are listening to this are going, "Okay, that's fine, guys, but what's the solution?" How can we be more helpful to each other? What are some of the ideas you have, Robin, to help us put down the guns, so to speak?
Well, I mean, basically, it's never appropriate to challenge somebody in a meeting. It's just counterproductive.
Right.
I really believe that it is. But I think that we need to pray for each other's success, first of all, because I've been taught that if you're praying for somebody, for good things to come to somebody, it's hard to harbor ill feelings or resentments for them. So, again, I'm not telling you who your higher power has to be, because that's not the function of a 12-step program. But, you know, if you're listening to this and you're harboring resentments because of experiences you've had in one fellowship or another, then let's talk about it and let's pray about it as friends. The second thing is just to follow the suggestion my sponsor gave and be courteous to the traditions of the place you're in, and you'll never go wrong.
What do you think, Nathan? What are some of the ideas that you have that we can help us to be more helpful to each other?
Well, I mean, it all comes, I remember when it was an issue for me. I've been around so long that the water roses don't even affect me, and I just blend in, and they're both the same in my head, and I don't have any things over it. But
right.
I think it all boils down to the people, some of the old timers, some people that have been around a while, to set an example, and I can tell you one thing that me and you are both guilty of, Monty. This is an example of what things that we do that rub off on, because, for me, my biggest challenge, finding my creator is, I've been seeking for a long dang time. And so one of the things that I find me and you do when we're sitting in a meeting is we talk about our creator. We almost hint to who he is because we're passionate about it.
Right.
But I think about how I was sitting in there going, I ain't doing that. I'm running away from that. And in my opinion, we're kind of forgetting what it was like and not some people probably ain't comfortable with it. So,
but if you don't talk about who God is in your life as your own personal experience, how are people going to know?
Well, that's one of the things that that some of the co-founders kind of ironed out.
That's where wisdom comes in, right?
That's where wisdom comes in. I think that we
maybe pray for a little wisdom before we go sit down in our chair.
That's right.
Yeah, you're right.
But do you see what I'm saying? We do little pokes and
sure.
And I remember what it was like for me when I was
because people are smart. They're not stupid.
Yeah, and so I know I have a responsibility because I've been around a while to try not to play that manipulative game. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I have, and I notice the people that they follow everything just right, and they never, and I just sometimes I'm not too good at that because I don't know if my ego says, you can help get this meeting back in order by saying that under the radar. I don't know what it is that my head says, but,
right?
And so basically I think it comes down to some of the people that have been around a while that to set a good example. I mean, because when you're young and new, I'm just grateful to be sitting and alive. I don't know much else,
What do you think, Robin? What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, after I got past year 5, it became more about helping the other person. And then as the time went on, it started to become about don't hurt the other person. Year 10, year 15, if you can't be helpful, don't harm. And it's the longer I've been around, the more necessary it is to just make love and tolerance, emphasis on tolerance, my code. Because there was a lot of people that tolerated me and put up with me and told me, even though they probably were praying otherwise, they were thinking otherwise, they told me, keep coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is your home. You're welcome here. And we need to remember that if you look And I've been in meetings to where, of one fellowship or the other, where somebody identifies themselves by that dual title, if you will. My name is, and I'm an alcoholic and addict. And then seeing the festival of hate and discontent that comes after that. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe you need to just step back for a second and think about how long has this person been coming around? And maybe you just need to gently say something after the meeting, not assassinate them in the meeting.
Right, and a lot of times this is where lack of sponsorship is at fault. Because nobody's working with people. We used to make the approach. Now we wait people to approach us, which is backwards. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Listen, we're going to take a really quick break because we heard a PSA from Alcoholics Anonymous. So we're about equal time today, right? So let's listen to this.
There are all kinds of people. Their variety is almost endless, and that's a good thing. Diversity is our strength, and so are our similarities. But there's one thing that far too many people share: addiction. If you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, call Narcotics Anonymous. Addiction doesn't discriminate. We can help you.
NA.org, by the way, is the world-based Narcotics Anonymous website. AA.org is the one for Alcoholics Anonymous. And, guys, we're coming up to running out of time here. I really respect what both of you have shared, and I think it is vitally important that we understand that you don't treat sick people with right fighting. You don't. You destroy your chance of being helpful. But it's really hard when you're passionate about something and very protective of the fellowship you're in because it saved your life.
That's right.
It's hard. And the only way I know to temper my own issues or my own right fighting is to ask God to do it for me, because I am powerless over my own stupid opinions.
Amen to that, my friend.
Robin, any
You just said a mouthful there.
Yeah.
Bia.
Robin, any closing thoughts?
Well, I just want to thank you, Monty, for having the courage of bringing this up and addressing it. And I hope that it's been helpful to anybody that's listening. And I want to just share my ongoing appreciation for this recovery tool, 12-Step Radio. Take 12 Radio has been in my recovery. And I just want to put that out there and wish you just buckets of success in this process. And that's what I've got. I'm just a grateful recovering member of all sorts of different... I've yet to find a fellowship that I don't qualify for, unfortunately. Depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, I hear you. And please, folks, don't think you say, well, the AA meetings where I live are crap, and so I go to the NA meetings, and then somebody from the other side of the country goes, well, the NA meetings where I live are crap, so I go to the AA meetings and backwards and forth. You know what? A lot of it is geographical. There's different flavors. There's and if you've been hurt or shunned or whatever. I mean, if you get food poisoning at a restaurant, is that the last time you ever eat out? Probably not. Come on. Somebody said, hey, we're all we got, man. Let's don't abandon each other. So I really appreciate, Robin, you bringing this topic up. I appreciate it so much. Robin, how can people find you on In the Rooms?
In the Rooms, I'm Squid68. If you go to the
Squid
AA Fellowship, Squid, I'm an ex-Navy guy. What can I say?
Gotcha.
And if you go to the AA Fellowship, I'm that guy that just posts one big book quote after another. And if you go to the Florida Recovery, that's where I post my NA basic texts. I'm there, and I encourage all of you to really take a look at In the Rooms. It's another really good tool of recovery. It doesn't replace those face-to-face meetings, but it definitely helps.
Right on. Right on. Well, listen, Robin, don't hang up. Stay on the line. Nathan, closing remarks?
Quick one. I think the attitude for my attitude towards this subject is a meeting is a meeting, AA, NA, and I just go where the meat and potatoes are, and I try to follow and give respect to each one.
Right on. Right on. All right, folks, we are out of time. Like I said, Robin, stay on the line. Hold on there with us, buddy. Folks, go to AA.org, go to NA.org. There's links all over our website to all sorts of fellowships. Remember, my friends, do something now that will make the person you will be tomorrow proud to have been the person you are today. Put down the guns. Put down the rocks. We're not at war with each other. We're on the same side.
Yep.
Until our next broadcast, we're wishing God's perfect serenity for you.
When it all came crashing down, there was only darkness all around. But in the distance I could see a flame. There's so much more to living in your world. Save you what you did for me. You gave me something I want everyone, I mean everyone to see. When we stumble and it all goes wrong, only you can make it right. So I say, I'm learning to be the light. I'm learning to be the light. I'm learning to be the light. I'm learning to be the light.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Be the light.
Kitty, 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 kitty. My